This is Warren's Most Liked segment, in which you can share how you got started with Android, the problems you had along the way, and much more. If you don't know what to say, we'll help you along the way.
And now we turn to what I know is Warren's favourite segment, and I'm going to let him lead it off. And we haven't had one of these for a while. And I'm delighted to say that Angie Fisher has joined us. You've heard from Angie already. And she is going to tell her Android journey story. So Warren and Angie, it's over to you. Warren.
Ms. Fisher, we want to welcome you to the Android Journey segment. Of course, this is my most favorite segment of the podcast. Seldom we have it, and when we have it, for me, it's a treat. It's like a kid in a candy store. And so we are so thankful, Angie, that actually you took your time to come out here and talk about your Android journey and all the pitfalls, the struggles, and what you're experiencing. And so we would love to hear from you, telling us that Android journey story, when it began, some of the things that led to you trying it, because I know a lot of people think Android is no bueno, it's not good or whatever and all of that. But at least you've started that journey, and we're delighted to have you on here. Angie, go ahead and tell us about that journey of yours.
Okay, well, my story, as it were, starts the first time I tried Android. And if anybody wants to interact, that you can. I don't know what the format is like, but if you want to ask questions or engage while I'm talking, feel free. I go back as far as ice cream sandwich in a Galaxy S3. And this was an AT&T phone. I was primarily using an iPhone 4 at the time. And I hated the experience. I just didn't like it. It didn't mesh with me. I wasn't connecting with it. I just really felt, and I'm sure that 90% of it was me. In fact, I knew it was. And I just couldn't bond with that phone at all. It just did not work. And I can't even tell you why now, because I think, I don't know. Maybe it's a geekiness factor or something. I'm not really sure, but it didn't work for me. I didn't like it. It was just not pleasant. So fast forward, I went back to the iPhone. You're going to be hearing this a lot because I'm just, yeah. And then I got the Nexus tablet, and because I just can't leave Android alone. I just can't leave it, right? So, I got a Nexus tablet, and I loved the experience. It was a great tablet. It was a really solid device. I had Eloquence try to call home to mama and crash on that tablet. I had all kinds of fun experiences with that tablet, and we got through it. I had a keyboard case. It was one of those situations where I think it was like maybe within like the first week of having it, like I bought Eloquence and I installed it, and I was really just kind of jonesing on the fact that I could install apps via a web browser to my devices. Can't do that with iOS. Sorry, but you can. And it was just really fun and geeky stuff. And that's why I say I really kind of came into my own with Android with that device, because I had a keyboard case, and I was doing a lot with that with Android, with email. I did a good bit of document writing with that device. It was a really good tablet. My phone at the time was still an iPhone, but I really enjoyed it. And then
roughly when was that?
That would have been around 2012, I think.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a little earlier.
Yeah, well, I think the first tablet came out in the summer of 2012, and then we have the Nexus 7 2013.
Yeah, that's the one I had.
So yeah. I think if you're talking about Eloquence, you probably got the Nexus 7 2013. That one was actually a little bit better than the Nexus 2012, because I think that one has stereo speakers, and the other one
it was a 13.
Yeah,
it was a 13. Yeah. So all my phones were Samsung phones until my most recent foray, or my most recent switch. I'll get to that. So then I got a Galaxy S5, and I hated that phone. It wasn't the user experience, that was fine, but I hated the hell out of that phone. It had this.
Hang on, Angie. Let's be.
The user experience was fine.
The S5 though.
The S-
Yeah, I agree. The S5 was.
It was a piece of crap.
It was. Yeah, I agree with you. But there are some
I
things
tried to
though
listen
that.
to Audible books, and there was like this weird crying bacon noise in them. I'm like, I can't deal with this. The hardware sucked.
Yeah, but there was some
I
things
love
though.
bacon. What's wrong with frying bacon?
I wanna hear it.
Why don't you want to hear bacon frying? Literally, I want an
Crying
S5
when you're
right
listening
now.
to audio.
love bacon. It's my favorite.
No, I want bacon right now. Like if I can hear bacon frying, and then ideally, like 6 minutes later, get some bacon.
Okay, so you got to insert some bacon noises now. That's the
Yeah,
only thing.
but so here's what
Yeah,
I'm
but
trying to say.
I don't have an
though.
S5. I can't.
I know, right?
Here's
eBay.
what I'm trying to say. There were some things that the S5 was what gave us some of those things. One of those, they were the first to give us IP rating certification on
That's true.
Android.
Yes,
And the second thing, the S5 was the first one that gave us that camera detecting the face in
Really
the live
cool.
view.
Yeah.
So as bad as the S5 was,
It
there were
opened
some
doors.
things that they brought to us, and I think they're also
open doors,
the
it can
first
fry
one that
bacon.
gave
Wow,
us the
it's
first
amazing
maybe fingerprint as well. So.
Do you know the other amazing thing about the S5? That's why we're here. It is the only Samsung Galaxy phone ever to have come between the S4 and the S6.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
That wasn't the exploding one, was it?
No,
No.
that was the S. That was the Note 7.
Oh,
And I didn't dive into it and give it like a couple of days. My S3 experience, I lasted like for a weekend. I'm like, I can't deal with it. I just can't do it.
Hey, sorry, could
but
I interrupt you, please, for a moment?
Yes.
I wanted to correct something regarding the IP rating. Warren, I think the first one that I knew about had an IP rating was a Sony phone. For our friend Ed, this is actually the Acro S, which is a Sony phone. Actually, my cousin had this one, and I think it was before the S5 was released.
What did it have? What did it have?
The IP rating.
IP rating.
The IP rating. Yeah.
No, the Galaxy S5 is the first one that had
Warren,
the IP rating.
I knew the phone. The phone was with my cousin. So I'm telling you something
which one is it? What Sony is it? It's not the Z. It's not the Z3.
No. It's called Acro S, something like that.
Maybe they didn't have it in America.
Yeah, maybe. Yes, you didn't have
that
it.
Could be.
But actually, I knew the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So well, this goes to prove the fact that we can still have removable batteries and yet still have
SD
IP
storage
certification. Yeah.
SD storage, even if it smells like you're frying eggs when you're listening.
Exactly.
Eggs and bacon, was it?
Eggs and bacon, yes. There was just this weird. I don't know. Do you guys did you know? I don't know. Did you hear that, Warren? Did it?
No, I never did. So the S5, like I said, I think the S5. I think the lead guy, got fired because the S4 was a whole lot of a better phone than the S5.
Yes, it was.
And
a massive improvement to the S3 as well.
Yeah. Well, the other thing on the breakfast front,
S4s for a long time.
Yeah, on the egg side, apparently the S5 tried to teach the S3 to suck eggs.
Oh dear!
Wow. So I went. I actually hated that phone so much, and it wasn't this time. It wasn't anything to do with Android. I used it a lot. I used it for a lot of fitness stuff. That one had the
S-Health.
The heart rate sensor, the S-Health. Yeah. I used that a lot, and it worked super well. Like the experience itself was a really good one. I really enjoyed it. But the hardware, I couldn't deal with it. So actually, I went back. I took it back to Verizon. And it's funny because when I bought it, when I walked out of the store with it, the guy that I was working with was an iPhone guy. He's like, "You'll be back," and I'm like, "No, I'm not doing it." I'm like, "God," and he's just like, "Yeah, you'll be back." And I said, "I'm back, but not for the reasons that you're thinking." So I actually paid to get out of the. I'm like, "Here, just take it back," and I upgraded to the Fruitvale phone, and again, and I stayed with that until the S7. This is becoming like an every 2-year thing, but I love my S7 experience. I really enjoyed that phone. It was built well. It was just a really good phone. I loved it. The Android experience was awesome. I really enjoyed it. It was just
and it's a very girly looking phone.
It's a very little dainty, very yes.
I still have an S7 lying around here, and
I liked it though. Like the hardware was amazing. It was just a good phone. And then my next, what did that was I used that alongside my iPhone for a while. And then my next Android experience was the Note 9. I love the device. It was great. The Android experience was great. The only reason that I stopped using Android at that point was because for work, I was doing basically everything on my iPhone. I was doing everything for the job, from submitting invoices at the end of the month to just report writing, all the things. And I couldn't write productively. I didn't feel like I could be productive on my Note. I wasn't able to utilize spell check. I wasn't able to do any of that stuff. And that was the only thing that kept me from keeping it, or from staying with Android at that point. And I'm like, well, I'll wait a few years and see what happens. And sure enough, here we are. I have my Pixel. We have spell check. The Braille keyboard is amazing. And yeah, I'm all in. This is great. I have the Pixel. I have the Pixel Watch. This is a great experience. I'm really enjoying it.
So what made you go?
I am all in. Yeah.
What made you go Pixel?
I've never done the stock Android experience before, and I've liked what I've seen of the Pixels. Just from having played with them over time. And Android always appealed to me because it let me tinker, and I'm just kind of like that. I like to configure the crap out of my devices, and yeah, it totally works.
So which Pixel is it you've got?
The 7 Pro.
The Pro. So is that a bigger one than the normal 7? Yeah, I thought so.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a bigger, wider phone. It's about the same size, actually. If you've seen the iPhone Pro Max,
that is huge.
It's about that
massive.
Big. It's a little bit. It's yeah, and I've got it in an OtterBox, so it's kind of a big,
very big.
Big
so,
phone.
Do you have a bit of sight?
No.
I only ask that because sometimes people with a bit of sight have the bigger screen. Yeah, so that's why I'm asking.
I like it because of the Braille input thing.
Okay. So the bigger screen helps with that
a little bit. Yeah.
And I guess it's got a better battery, doesn't it, than the
Yes, it does.
7?
Better battery. Yeah. Does it Warren, you can probably answer this. Does it have a different I can't remember. Can you get more storage with this one, or processor difference, or RAM versus the S7?
Which one? The Fold?
The 7 and the 7 Pro.
The Pro.
7 and 7 Pro.
The 7 Pro.
I can't remember.
The 7 Pro gives you up to 512 gigs if you want it, but only comes in black.
And what about the 7?
And the 7 doesn't go that high, does it?
No, the 7 is just 256.
Okay.
Is the RAM the same?
Storage junkies. Yeah.
The RAM is just 8 gigs versus the 12 of the Pro.
The Pro.
So there is a RAM difference.
Yeah, there is. I thought there was. I wasn't sure.
So that sounds like it definitely couldn't be described as a girly looking phone, though.
No. It's not. It's not girly. It was the S7 that's a girly looking phone.
I was just thinking about this. This is a lot bigger.
Oh yeah, it's a whole lot bigger. And frankly, that's just a $600 phone. I mean, it's it's a great phone.
Do you find that the battery lasts longer than it did in your iPhone?
It depends on what I'm doing.
I'd
say it's comparable
generally. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I just wondered.
So the weird thing I've seen between iOS and Android, because I used iOS for 10 years before I switched. The thing I found is that if you keep both phones off for an extended period of time, so not in standby but completely off. iPhones drain way quicker than Android phones do. Like I can turn my Pixel on without having touched it for 6 weeks, and it'll still be at 90%.
Yep.
The iPhone won't turn on.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Ed, because let's be honest, I had my Essential PH1 phone off for a year. I turned that thing on. The battery was still at 52%. And my Fruitvale, 7 Plus or whatever,
wow.
if I leave that thing off for like a month, it wouldn't even have
it'll drain.
A little inkling of power. It wouldn't even have.
No, they drain when they're off. I don't know why.
Don't understand that. Yeah.
That's
very
weird.
Interesting. Yeah.
They do though.
That's crazy.
Can you step me through your, like, it's okay to mention like Fruitvale devices, that's right. Was there a direct line of sight from S7 to Note 9 to Pixel, or did you have like intervening phones in those periods? That wasn't quite clear.
It was a couple years between, and I always had an iPhone alongside.
Yeah.
But I always, with my Note, I was with that for almost a year nonstop, and that's how I do it. I don't limp out and go back to the iPhone because if something's easier, I'll do everything I can to find a way around it, or to find a fix, or find something that is comparable. I just the biggest thing for me was productivity back then, and that's all been stamped out now. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You said you didn't like using the S3. Was that in the days of like having to do angle gestures and stuff?
That was.
Yeah, of course. That was all the.
That would be...
I mean, we didn't have all that multi-finger support thing.
And I think that's a lot easier
maybe
now.
last 3 years or so.
Oh, yeah.
But prior, everything was those
finger.
Angular gestures. Yeah.
But it wasn't just.
Did that make it harder for you?
It wasn't just
the
that
gestures,
either,
not so much. It was just. Yeah, no, it was a whole different. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So like options would be presented on a clock face and not in a list. So you had to run your finger round in a circle to find what you wanted.
It was. I remember it.
It wasn't just the angle gestures. It was like what came with it.
The whole thing was annoying. Because I gave, when I did my Android journey on here ages ago, I told you I gave up on Android for years after that experience. And you came back to it sooner than I did, because I had a Nokia 5 just to see if I liked Android now with TalkBack, and then I went for the first sort of serious proper phone I got was the Galaxy S9, so I was a bit later coming back to the party than you were.
It is a whole like freeing, liberating. I don't know. It's just an experience that appeals to me more. Like you can, if you don't like your phone app, change it. If you don't, or your dialer, change it. If you don't like your home screen, you can change it. Everything is very modular.
You can't do that on Apple. You just have to do it their way or not. And I found also, I mean, even going on the web on Apple nowadays is really annoying. Like it won't remember that you're on headings, and it'll go back to some other weird
actions. I hate that.
Thing, and stop doing that.
You need actions in like Safari when you're trying to browse a web page. When you're in an environment,
the other thing is you've chosen
element specific.
But you've just chosen headings. You've gone down to the next heading, and then suddenly you try to go to the next heading, and it's gone back. And TalkBack so much better. It doesn't do that.
And
it remembers.
There's so much customization now with regard to menus, like.
Yeah, TalkBack absolutely does do that for the avoidance of doubt. If you go to headings and you swipe to a control that is actionable, TalkBack will switch to actions. It's really annoying.
Okay, but it doesn't do it as it doesn't do it as often as iOS, which does it all the flipping time.
Yeah, well,
There's something that you mentioned about the circular menus. I think it's either Fee or Ed. Some people actually like that. Anna is one that comes to mind. And
I didn't mind that. I didn't mind it either. It was for me, again, it came back to being able to get stuff done quickly. Yeah. And I didn't feel like I was doing that. And I'm sure that it was 99% me. I don't think
I
didn't have the patience for it back then. Which is like kind
Yeah,
of
I think
No,
I think
I
the
think
circular
a lot
one
of
was
people-
probably a little bit harder
Mm.
for people to go around that clock face, and you got to move maybe slowly or whatever. And I think it's good that we have this, but until recently you could choose which one you want. I think it was maybe Android 12 or whatever that they stopped supporting that, but we had it up till like just recently, maybe 3 or so years ago, if you prefer that. But then it totally got changed.
It went away totally.
Yeah, it went away.
And I'm really glad you're enjoying your Pixel now.
I enjoy it. I really like it.
How long have you been using that for now?
It's been about a month, a little over a month.
Oh, great.
Maybe closer to 2. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a range of emotions: gladness, surprise.
This is just Ed because it's a Pixel and he doesn't like them.
It's a Fisher Price phone. Yeah.
Okay, wait, Ed. Why don't you like Pixels? What is it that you don't like about Pixels?
I think
are they too simple? Too. They're
underwhelming.
Not customizable.
No. So it's absolutely nothing to do with the software. Like if that came on anything that was made by someone who knew how to make a hardware device, I'd absolutely love the Pixel experience. Apart from that stupid search nonsense, which you need to be able to kill immediately, and that's really annoying. But you can replace the launcher, so who cares? But they're just not a hardware company, and they make thoroughly underwhelming, unattractive Fisher Price style devices. Yeah, and like the best was when the 6 Pro came out. This reviewer wrote, "This is the Pixel I would almost buy," and it was the almost. It's like, yeah, you still wouldn't buy it. And like, come on! Like, what Pixel need to do is like they did in the old days with the Nexuses. They need to commission not Samsung, because that would be horrific. It would lock down the entire market. But like a Sony, like an Honor, a sort of mid-tier manufacturer to make their devices, because they just can't do it, and they should stop.
But what if they partnered with Nokia?
Hang on, Ed. Here's the problem. Here's where your viewpoint is flawed. All these years that we had those Nexus devices, and to the first 3 line of Pixel phones, or actually maybe even the first 5 Pixels, guess what? They were all outsourced to the so-called hardware, gurus. What did we get? Absolute nonsense. The first time that we saw
but why
hardware,
was that? That might not be the hardware manufacturer's fault. That might be Google's fault.
It's not Google's fault.
It might be. It might have been Google who made the specification and said you've got to do this.
Let me finish my train of thought. You have all these so-called gurus. Samsung was one that, did one of them for them. HTC did one for them.
Yeah.
LG did one for them. Where were we? They were lousy,
What
hardware.
to HTC?
No, I'm serious. So,
but whose fault? Like, why is that their fault?
Until
Samsung make good hardware.
Until Google decided to do its own with the Pixel 6 series, that was the first time that Google really showed itself that hey, we can do hardware, and so they are learning, and so give them.
Really.
But Ed, it's like back in the day, people used to make fun of Japan, saying, "Hey, don't buy this thing; it's made in Japan." Guess what? Now Japanese are the kings of great hardware. So don't just discount something because they didn't get the first one right or whatever. They've proven to us that they can do hardware. Starting with the Pixel 6. And you have to
you've got to give them till 2030.
No. You need to go check
how many generations I have to give them.
Which one? Have you checked the Pixel 7? You don't have. You have a lousy Pixel 5. So stop talking about that. Based on what you have, that is just an all no good.
So I have to give them various generations.
Come on.
But imagine.
I'm serious. You got to look at what they have first, but don't base it on the past.
But let me put it more positively. Imagine how amazing the Pixel experience would be if it was on an Sony Xperia with all that amazing audio hardware.
That Sony. We did have a Sony PGE device. Remember, we had that. We had the Samsung. There were 3 of them that we had, and the hardware was still lousy. So what are you talking about?
But now we're on
Come
2023
on.
hardware. No, I'm asking you. Imagine how amazing it would be if stock pixelness was contracted out and Google said to Sony, "We want you to do this on the Sony Xperia 5." Like with all the high def audio stuff it's got, the spatial audio, the Dolby Atmos, the 1,000,001 Bluetooth audio codecs, the ability to, play all the HD audio. Like, imagine what sort of a device that would be if Google and Sony collaborated. Google put the volume through it so Sony could put the price down. That'd be a good phone, wouldn't it?
Sony put the price down.
No, but like
Sony would want to charge people $3,500 if you have a pixel experience.
But if Google get into bed with Sony, then the price goes down, obviously. So
yeah, I don't see Google getting in bed with Sony. If there's
but I know they're not going to. But Google and Samsung should never collaborate on hardware because then the whole thing, it may as well be iPhone.
Frankly, if it's not because of Samsung, we wouldn't be where we are in Android today. So Samsung is the face of Android.
Yeah, maybe. But those two can't collaborate anymore. Like if Pixels essentially, if Google said, "Sorry, we're not doing Pixels anymore," the answer is Samsung. Then you're sort of in an iOS world, not quite, but you're nearly there, aren't you?
What you mean? Because there isn't much competition.
Yeah, and the two biggest providers have merged, and that is never ever.
It's not good news.
But
then, is it?
That is not going to happen because this is the beauty that we have in Android. Is the
Google's
diversity
it can still make hardware. So
some people try to say, "Hey, this fragmentation," and for me, that fragmentation actually is the strength of Android. Just how boring it would be, like we said earlier. Hey, someone copies Samsung, let's all look like Samsung. That's going to be absolutely terribly boring.
Yeah, they need to fix the updates thing, though.
Let's give credit where credit is due. Google has really upped its game when it comes to hardware, and we'll see what happens.
Guys, I should leave, but just I want to say welcome to Android again, Angie, and I hope that you will stay forever.
I will totally
you will
hang
not
around.
leave. Yeah,
I am here for the duration.
Nice to have you in the pod.
Thank
and goodbye, guys. See you next week.
Bye. It's great to meet you.
Bye, Green.
Thank you, Karen.
Good.
So tell me something. Do you find your friends kind of maybe shunning you since you kind of been using Android full time?
You get the little assy. Sorry, I'm sorry. You get the little digs here and there. People kind of going, "Oh, you're going to do that now?" I'm like, what? True. Yeah, you just need to go away. Yeah, I am.
Yeah, because a lot of people think that Android doesn't work, and
yes, it does. It works.
Our friends,
very
unfortunately,
well.
have that feeling.
Here's the thing: I've done docs. I filled out, just stuff, forms and docs. I've done email on here. Obviously the Play Store stuff. I'm doing a lot with Tasker and Macro Droid. It's just a really fun device to geek out with. And yeah, there's a ton of stuff that you can do, and it's very possible to be productive. The Braille keyboard on here, I hardly ever have to recalibrate the dots, the cell. And the fact that you can use all 6 dots at the same time, that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. That was the silliest thing about iOS Braille screen input.
I know.
What, you can't use all the dots?
You never could.
No,
you never have been able to.
No,
I never did that.
What's
I
the point?
What
if I want to write the word for? F-O-R.
So you have to do like 1, 2, 3, and then like an 5 of them in any particular order, and then very quickly press this dot that you left out.
Oh,
wow!
When you lift up one finger, you have to remember not to lift up all of them.
Right.
It feels really weird.
That's so stupid.
Put the missing finger back. So it's kind of fingers are nasty.
So this is what I mean about blind people having to be even more expert than a lot of sighted people, whether we like it or not. And some people just aren't. That's not their skill set. Some things on some of these devices, especially in the past, have been so much harder than they needed to be. You know.
Yeah, and BSI on iPhone used to be really solid. Apart from that, it was really good. And now it's like, I hate this girl. Like when I use my iPhone for anything, because I'm beta testing, I should probably use it. And I go to write something, and I'm just like, I can't get back to Android fast enough. It's annoying.
Yeah. The other thing you don't seem to be able to do on iOS anymore, I'm sure you used to be able to, but you can't delete Braille tables once you've added them.
Oh my God. I know.
Like you can add more of them, and you can reorder them, but you can't get rid of them. Like if if you're in the French Braille table on BSI or whatever, and you don't want it anymore, there doesn't appear to be a way to get rid of it.
That's very silly.
You can go into edit and add.
I find that very interesting.
It looks for all the world like you should be able to, but you cannot.
You can't.
I'll try it.
There is an edit, but you can just move.
You can just keep adding. Yeah.
Yeah, and or reorder them. That's what they will let you do. But you can't delete them.
Right.
But you can get rid of it once you did that.
No,
I find that very interesting and disturbing, though, because Apple is someone that pays attention to details. You know what I mean? And I'm surprised that they would kind of do something like that. It just doesn't sound right.
I feel like because I do still have an Apple phone, and I do feel like Apple
short end of the shaft.
I feel like they used to be really good for accessibility, and I feel like that's going a bit by the wayside now.
That gap is closing. I've said that I've said that a lot lately.
I don't just think it's closing. I think Android are actually winning right now on a lot of
That's
it.
my thing too. Okay, Apple are pretty much staying what they were as they were, and they're just introducing bugs. Android,
I was going to say, but they're not. They're breaking things.
They're breaking things, exactly. But Android has covered so much ground over the last 3 or 4 years alone.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they did have a lot of ground to cover. They were coming from. They were like the tortoise in. They had some catching up to do.
Being able to
in other words, a mud turtle, right?
But they did. They've caught up and they've got ahead because Apple's got complacent and gone, oh, we've done this all right. And it's like, for 4 or 5 years ago, but
they've had Braille display issues for years.
There's so many broken things that they've never mended, and whereas Android actually do seem to be, proactively working on this stuff, and some of it is a bit frustrating.
And the advanced Braille keyboard.
And so some of it's a bit frustrating and takes a bit longer than it should. And the one that really annoys me is the fact that I can't use a Braille display and then go straight back to a QWERTY keyboard without having to change the input on an Android phone. That really annoys me, and I'm sure they should fix that soon. I hope.
I hear your pain. Yeah, that definitely should. As long as you disconnect.
I don't like using Braille on a screen keyboard.
It should go back to the. If you are just plugged in whatever, keyboard. It should go back to that one. Yeah, so I understand where you're coming from. But
what about Braille TTY?
I've never tried it yet. Do you use that?
I haven't either.
It's really geeky.
I have the Braille TTY.
It sounded a bit geeky.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's very geeky. But you know what? The Braille TalkBack Braille keyboard, a lot of it comes from BRLTTY.
Really?
And so, yes. And so, but the BRLTTY is very versatile if you have the patience to go through its customization. There's a lot in there. It's just overwhelming.
Is it on the Play Store though? Is that on the Play
now, isn't it? I think.
What's that fee?
It's back on the Play Store.
Oh yes, of course. It's been on the Play Store, maybe since a couple of years or so ago.
Yeah, it's not been on very long. It was previously side-loaded.
I remember that.
But it's so geeky. There's no proper documentation or support for it. Like it's work. There's reward in there, but
but again, this is another thing that sighted people just don't have to worry about, and we do if we want to do certain things.
Exactly.
It's a bit frustrating.
But see, here's the problem, Fee. These things were not. A lot of times these things were not, made to include us. We're more like an
but they
afterthought.
are a lot more now,
You know,
which is
yes,
wonderful.
but really, the sighted world. I mean, because we're quite a minority out of minorities. Let's put it that way. So yes, we're not the first ones that manufacturers would think of, but like I said, for us, we will always have to go the extra mile to make things work. So that will never change. It's just a reality of things.
Angie, do you use a Braille display?
I do. I have a Mantis Q40, and I've also
and do you use it?
Go ahead.
Sorry, which one? And you also use.
And then I've also used the the Brilliant line.
Okay.
With actual Braille
drivers. Do you use those? They don't work with Android, do they?
No, they don't. Not with that. I can plug it in via USB, but I can't. It's not a Bluetooth.
But is that with BRL-TTY? You have to use, don't you, for those?
No.
Can you do it with TalkBack now as well?
Yeah,
Braille back. Yeah.
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
USB. Though.
Well, that's better than it was. But I mean, I've got a Vario Ultra because I knew you could use that through Bluetooth with Android as well.
Cool. That's a nice display. I love those things.
It's a beautiful display.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
It's like the Rolls Royce of Braille displays.
They're so nice.
Well, Angie, thank you so much. And you know what? We have an open door policy to where, we like listener guest appearance. So at any time you want to come back and, join the podcast, just let us know. And we have that open to all of our listeners out there. And, people take advantage of that. You want to come on, just send us an email. Hey, can I join you guys this week? And we'll let you know. We'll come on and
if you want to do any app demos or anybody else, but it sounds like, Angie, you're still discovering new things and playing with new things and stuff. I mean, do check if we've done the app already, which is quite easy to do because you can just Google blind Android users and then the name of the app, and you'll see pretty quickly because we have a YouTube playlist of the app demos.
Okay.
Cool. So if you find an app that you think is useful, you could record a demo and send it to us, and we'll see whether we might edit it a bit sometimes, but yeah.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's been fun. It's a really fun group.